This is the American Infectious Diseases Society of America guideline for the diagnosis. I think Harrison probably quotes the same thing. So if you have a strong suspicion, patient presenting with diarrhea of 3 or more than 3 unformed stools per day for more than or equal to 2 days, right? So 2 days patient should have 3 or more than 3 unformed stools per day for 2 days consecutively, right? Such patients we have to evaluate further, right? So what is the evaluation? We can do 3 important tests. One is called as GDH test. What is GDH test? GDH test stands for glutamate dehydrogenase. It stands for glutamate dehydrogenase. So these toxigenic as well as non-toxigenic dehydrogenase, non-toxigenic strains both present or produce this substance or the enzyme called glutamate dehydrogenase, which is NAD specific. This is an NAD specific enzyme which converts glutamate to alpha ketoglutarate and ammonia. It converts glutamate to alpha ketoglutarate plus ammonia, right? So presence of this is one marker or one feature suggestive of CDI, but it does not differentiate between the toxigenic or non-toxigenic. So we have to prove that the patient also, apart from having CDI, he has the toxigenic infection, right? So for that you have to document that patient's stool has toxin A or B, right? Toxin A or B. This is usually done using enzyme immunoassay. That is the most commonly performed method for identification of toxin, enzyme immunoassay. Okay, so you have 3 or more than 3 unformed stools for 2 consecutive days per day in a patient who has risk factors for CDI, and you check for the stool and you note that they have either GDH test positive plus a toxin A or B, then you can say the diagnosis is confirmed to have CDI. Or alternatively, if you don't want to look at the toxin A or B, right, you can try to culture or detect the C. difficile in the stool using PCI or nucleic acid amplification test, but for that you need to use probes which are specific for the toxigenic C. difficile strains. And when you talk about culture, they might ask you what is the culture medium that is used. So we have 2 culture medium that can be used. One is CCFA, the other one is CCYA. CCFA stands for your cefoxitin. First C is cefoxitin, the second C is cycloserine, cefoxitin, cycloserine, fructose agar. Okay, and in the CCYA, it is same cefoxitin, cycloserine. YA stands for egg yolk agar. These are the commonly used culture media. Okay, so either you can prove that there is toxin production along with your GDH test, or you can prove that it is a toxigenic strain that is identified either on culture or PCR or NAT. Or the third option to prove that there is a CDI infection is direct visualization of pseudomembranes. With respect to pseudomembrane, I want you to remember some point. The point number 1 is it is seen in less than 30% of the patients, right? So that means it lacks the sensitivity. So the absence of pseudomembranes does not rule out the diagnosis, but presence is very specific. If it is present, it is diagnostic. Its absence does not rule out, and it is absence known to occur in patients who develop CDI and they have IBD, or in patients who have been going through recurrences. So the recurrent infection usually doesn't produce pseudomembrane. Similarly, those who have been partially treated with antibiotics. In such patients, you may not see them developing pseudomembrane, right? So is that clear? Pseudomembrane presence is specific. Presence confirms the diagnosis. Absence doesn't rule out, right? Clear? So here is an algorithm that kind of summarizes the things that I just spoke about. So patients who presented with acute onset clinically significant diarrhea more than or equal to 3 loose stools over 24 hours. Harrison says for 2 days at least, which patients who also have the risk factors like recent antibiotic use, hospitalization or advanced age, or certain predisposing conditions like malignancy, IBD or transplantation. Yeah, so these patients, the most logical initial approach is to mainly look for the GDH test using the EIA, right? That is your enzyme linked immunoassay, right? So test for GD and GDH and test for toxin A and B. If the GDH is positive and toxin A or B is detected, that means the diagnosis of Clostridium Difficile Infection or colitis is well established. You can say it is confirmed, right? So GDH is positive, that suggests this Clostridium difficile infection is there, and you have detected the toxin that suggests that it's a toxigenic strain. Right? So remember again, I told GDH can be positive in toxigenic as well as non-toxigenic, right? So once you detect GDH positivity, that means CD is there, and once you detect that the toxin is positive, either A or B, that means it's a toxigenic strain. So that confirms that the patient is not colonized, and definitely he has CD colitis, right? So the testing is consistent with C. difficile infection. Okay, if you have the GDH negative and toxin both negative, right? So in that case, it is not a case of CDI. Look for other possible causes to explain patient's diarrhea, right? When you have the incongruent results like GDH is positive and toxin is negative, then you can say it is indeterminate. Similarly, GDH is negative or toxin is positive, that is also indeterminate. In such patients, you can perform a nucleic acid amplification test or maybe even PCR. And if the nucleic acid amplification test is positive, suggestive of CD, maybe you can go with the diagnosis of CD. And if the test is negative, then the CD is Clostridium difficile infection is ruled out, right? So this is a logical algorithm. So culture today doesn't find a great place. First of all, the disadvantage of the culture is that long downtime required for us to get the result. The second thing is the culture may not be specific for the toxigenic strain. So you just identify C. difficile. Again, you need to prove that it is a toxigenic strain. So multiple steps involved adds to the cost and takes a longer time for arrival. So the logical thing is high index of suspicion, diarrhea, then look for the toxin and the GDH. Both are present, beyond doubt it is CDI. If both are negative, beyond doubt it rules out the CDI. And if it is the conflicting results, in that case you can go for the nucleic acid amplification test, right? So that is going to be our approach.